Hey guys, got a cool activity for you today. We're going to be working in Photoshop and I'm going to show you how the layer panel works. I'm going to show you a selection technique called color range. I'm going to show you how to transfer one image from one document to another, how to rename layers, how to sort layers, just kind of get a feel for how everything works. So we're going to need to download a couple files before we get started. So let's go ahead and go to Schoology. All right, so go to the Schoology page, this class, and right on the front page you'll see a folder called Data Files. Now data files are the documents I'm going to place in there that we'll be using for every activity, lesson, summative, whatever it may be. This is the first one I'm having you work on in Photoshop. It's called Up in the Air. So I created one folder for that, and as I add assignments throughout the semester, you'll see more folders that represent those here. So go to Up in the Air, so click on that, and you'll see two files. So click on File 3-1, and when you do, you're going to get a preview of this file, some hot air balloons. Now, I had some situations last semester when students were trying to download files from Schoology. It would not give them a preview of the image, okay? And we fixed that by just clicking down here. So let's get in the habit for every file that we see there, we're just gonna click on the link that's below the image, okay? So if I click on that, all right, it's asking me it's prompting me where do I wanna save this, okay? So let's go ahead and create a folder on your desktop. So go to make sure desktop is selected, and then let's click this folder. Let's click this button right here to add a folder, and we're going to call this Data Files and hit Create. All right, so now that folder called Data Files is sitting on your desktop, and we want to create an additional folder inside of that, or a subfolder. So let's hit this button right there, and we're going to call this Up in the Air, okay, and hit Create. All right, so Data Files, Up in the Air is the folder, and it's asking what to save as. So this is the file name. So our ultimate file is going to be Up in the Air, and we have everything how we want it, and we're going to hit Save. Okay, so it's saved that file into that folder. So I'm going to go ahead and hit this X right here to make that go away. And I'm going to go back to this link right here. Click the Up in the Air link, and that's going to take me back to where these two files were. And now I'm going to click on File 3-2. So I'm clicking on File 3-2. And it's an image of a hot air balloon. And just like we did before, we're going to get in the habit of clicking the link that's below the image, because sometimes this preview does not come up. So click on that link. It's asking us where do we want to put it. So I'm going to click Desktop. I'm going to make sure I look for the Up in the Air folder, or the Data Files folder I created. So click Data Files, and then click the subfolder called Up in the Air. And we're going to call this Yellow Balloon. All right, so I'm going to call it Yellow Balloon, and I'm going to hit Save. All right, it downloads it there. I'm going to exit out. And now I can minimize Schoology. So I'm going to hit that little flat yellow button. And now I'm going to open up Photoshop. So to open up Photoshop, it may show up in your taskbar down here. I already have mine open, but I'm going to have you go to the launch pad right here, the little rocket ship. So click on that, and you're going to scroll with your mouse or your trackpad until you see the Photoshop icon, and then go ahead and click it. So this is what the software looks like, or similar to this when you first open it. You can see I've used it multiple times, and I have various projects that show up down here. All right, but we're going to open both those files that we just downloaded. So go ahead and hit Open. All right, so we're going to hit Open, and we're on our desktop, so that is selected. We're looking over here till we see the data file folder we just created. So there, and you'll see in that folder there's a subfolder. All right, and it's the Up in the Air document and Yellow Balloons. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that one time, Up in the Air, and I'm going to hold the control key with my left hand and click on the yellow, whoops, maybe it's the option key, I can't remember on this, it's command. All right, so I hold the command key with my left hand, and so I can select both of them at the same time. If you're having trouble with that, just open each one individually. So go ahead and hit open. And you'll see I have two documents here represented by these tabs. So I have yellow balloon, I have up in the air, and those are the two documents I have open. Now, a little refresher on the workspace itself. This area down the left-hand side is called your toolbar. This bar across the top right here, oops, where it says Photoshop file, edit image, layer, type, that's referred to as your menu bar. This area right here, this is referred to as your options bar. So whatever tool you had selected, you're going to have different options associated with that tool. And I'll walk you through most of these tools this semester. And when we're done, assuming that you do the activities, this is going to be real easy for you to navigate and work with, okay? All right, if you look to the right, oops, my mouse is acting up. If you look to the right, you'll see we have various panels open. The one we're going to be working with today is the layers panel right here. And we have the ability to show and hide panels as we see fit. And we do that under the menu bar right here. So because layer panel is the only one we really want to open, we're going to go to Window on the menu bar. And we're going to make sure that layers is the only word that has a check mark next to it. So we'll have to do this one at a time. So where it says color right there, just click on it, and you'll notice your color panel goes away. And we're going to go back to Window, and we're going to go down to Properties, and we're going to click on it. And you'll know that notice the property panel goes away. And by doing that, we've made more room for our layer panel on the right, and that is what we want. All right, so let me explain layers and how they work. So every item over here is its own layer, and whatever item is at the top is what's closest to us on the canvas right here. So this tool right here is my move tool, and it allows me to select object on the canvas and move them around, transform, and do some other things. All right, so I see right here that going up in the air, that text is what's on top. So theoretically, if I select it, you always have to select the layer you want to work with. So going up in the air. All right, so I have that selected and my move tool. So if this is really true, when I grab the text, it will be over the top of everything on the canvas, right? And we can see it as long as it contrasts what's below it, the color below it, okay? So we can see the text is at the top. Now, if I was to move this down the layer panel, so I'd click on it and drag it down just above the sky layer right there. Now, if I move this around the canvas with my move tool, it is behind all the objects, okay? So I refer to this as your stacking order, kind of the stack of layers. So I'm gonna move that back up to the top. And you can do that with any of these items. So right now, if I select my big or black stripe balloon layer with my move tool, move that around, I can see it's behind all the other balloons, right? But if I move that up to the top of all the other images and move it around, it's above everything else. So that's the basics behind stacking order. So I'm gonna move that back down to the sky layer. Now, you'll see something here called background, where it says background and there's a padlock next to it. All right, if I hide all the other layers, and I hide layers by clicking the eyeball, okay? It's called the visibility. So if I hide all those layers, my background is the only one shown. And I can click the visibility button, and it hides the background layer, and you'll see kind of this gray and white checkerboard pattern. Anytime you see that, it just simply means that is transparent, so kind of a transparent background. All right, or layer is not really there, it shows you nothing's there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and show my background layer and show my sky layer. I want to get rid of this background layer, okay? So let's see if I can right click it and choose delete layer, okay? So right click this layer, choose delete layer, and delete the background layer. It's asking me to confirm, and I hit yes. All right, so my background layer is gone, and I have the sky layer kind of as the background now. Now, I want to convert this to a background layer, which means it'll be locked, that nobody can do anything with it. So to do that, you simply go up to Layer on the menu bar. So go to Layer on the menu bar, go to New, and then choose Background from Layer. It's simply saying I'm going to take this normal sky layer and make it a background layer. So go ahead and click that. And when you do, you notice it changed the name to background and gave it a padlock. All right, that is what we want. All right, let's say for whatever reason, I want to unlock my background layer. And you'll have to do this multiple times throughout the semester because in order to make any modifications to a locked layer, you need to unlock it first. So to do that in Adobe CC is real easy. You just click the padlock once, it becomes a normal layer, and you see the name change to layer 0. That just means it's a normal layer. Now, we're going to have to undo things multiple times throughout the semester, okay? And I know that a lot of software programs, you can just go to Edit in the menu bar and hit the undo button, right? Well, in this class, I'm going to refer to the hotkeys of Command and Z. So if I hold the Command button with my left hand and press the letter Z, it achieves the same result. It undoes what I just did. So now that converted that to a background layer. So anytime you want to undo something, hold the Command button and the letter Z, it undoes it. All right, so let's go ahead and show all our layers here. All right, so all my layers are showing, and I need to move my text of going up in the air back up, so I remember I got to select the layer first and move that back up. There is fine location, and I'm good to go. And I'm going to take my black stripe balloon layer, I selected it and moved it down this way a little bit so I can see the text that's up there. All right, so everything looks good up to this point. Now, I want to bring this image of the yellow balloon over to this layer. So let's go try a couple things for the other document. Now, if by chance you don't have your two tabs side by side here, let's say they're not side by side, you can always go to Window on the menu bar, go to Arrange, and adjust how it's arranged. So, good thing to think of is right now it's consolidated all the tabs, so I'm just going to click that. It's going to stay how it is. But let's say my arrange and I had two up horizontally, that's the view it would give me. I don't like working in that view. I always like just the tab modes. So I'm going to go back to Window, Arrange, and then consolidate all the tabs. It brings it back side by side, and that's what I want. All right, so I'm going to my yellow balloon, and the first thing I notice if I look over to my layer or the layers panel to the right is I have a padlock, okay? And I just got done saying that if you see a lock, you can't do anything to that layer. So if I try to get my move tool and move it around, I can't because, whoops, it'll actually, they must have made a quick update to Adobe CC. So actually if I click on it and try to move it, it unlocked it for me, all right? But I want you to get in the habit of clicking the padlock right there to unlock it. Now, let's say you want to move this balloon over to this document. Now, I'm going to have you just show you how to move something first, and then we'll go through the process of making a selection, then moving it. So I have the picture of the yellow balloon with a blue background. I'm going to try to move everything over at once. So the first thing I need to ensure is this layer is active, and then I'm going to get my move tool right there, and I'm going to click on my yellow balloon, and I'm not letting up. Do not let up on your mouse. You do not let up on your mouse. You hold the pointer over the other tab with your mouse still pressed down. If you let up on your mouse, you got to start over. And I'm going to drag it down onto the picture, and I let go. And you see it drops the image of the balloon and the blue sky because it was all on one layer. Okay, so that's how you move an item. Now, I want to delete that because I'm going to go back to the yellow balloon. So simply hit the delete key on your keyboard. So delete key, it deletes that layer, and I'm going back to the yellow balloon. All right, so now I need to make a selection of this yellow balloon. And there's a couple different ways I could do it, but I'm going to teach you one today that you're going to find most helpful throughout the semester. There's other ways that are slightly easier, but if you learn this technique first, it's going to save you so much time and hassle going forward. So really pay attention to what I'm showing you now. So I have the layer active right there, and I'm going to go to select on the menu bar, select. All right. When I look at the options here, I want to use something called color range. And the reason I can use a method called color range is I have a yellow balloon on a solid background, a solid color background. Anytime you see that and the color of the object is different than the background, you can use this. So I'm going to go to color range right there. All right, and it gives me a preview. Notice I have my selection button chosen there. There's something called fuzziness up here, and I refer to that as variation color. How much variation of color do you want included in your selection? The higher that number, the more similar color pixels it will select in your image. All right, and then right here you'll see 3 different eyedroppers. This first eyedropper is your initial selection. So if I click on the blue right there, down a little bit. All right, if I click on my initial eyedropper right there and click on a blue area of the sky, it's going to select 1 pixel and kind of search throughout the entire image to find similar color pixels based on this setting right here, your fuzziness. So the higher that number, if I bump that up, you'll see it includes more variations of that color blue. Until the point, if I move it up too high, it's going to start searching out blues within that balloon, and I don't want that. So let's go ahead and we're going to take this number down to, let's try 40 right there. I like 40 for this picture. These settings are going to change with each project you work on. Okay, so I have my initial selection. Now if I was to go and still have this button chosen and select a different area of the blue sky, it's going to reset everything I had selected. So it's going to select something entirely new. Now this second eyedropper there allows me to add to my selection. So let me go ahead and hit that. So with that second eyedropper, now I can either click here in the blue area, or more efficiently, I can click here in my preview window, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to click anywhere I see gray kind of specks in my preview window. Okay? And what I'm looking for is solid black on white, okay? And what I'm always looking for is how can I get the smoothest edge in my selection? So I will bump this up more and more and more until I see a solid edge right there. And I'm gonna take it up as high until I get to the point where it's starting to show color or detail through there. That's too high. So I wanna take that down even more. All right, so 70 looks like a good number for this particular image. There's something in here called invert, and I'm not going to have you use it this semester. I'm going to have you flip your selection every time just to limit the confusion. So using that can save you a little time, but in this situation, it's going to create confusion. So let's get to that point and hit OK. All right, and then let's look to see what's on our canvas. So right now we have a bunch of blinking lines that appear to be moving. In the industry, or if you read any Photoshop book, that's referred to as marching ants. But what it represents is the area selected. So right now the blue sky is selected, not the balloon, and we need to flip that around. So we're going to flip our selection by going back to select on the menu bar. So select. I'm going to inverse. All right, and now my balloon's selected, not the sky. And when we get it to that point, we're going to use the same technique to move the balloon over that we did before. So get your move tool, make sure the layer is active, and then click on the balloon. You'll see it cuts the balloon out, and we're going to take it over. We do not let down on our mouse. Go right to the middle of the canvas and let up on your mouse, and that brings that balloon over in its entirety. Okay, so I want you to position this balloon so it's just above the black stripe balloon layer. So whatever layer you had selected before bringing it over, that's where it's going to place it. So if it placed it up here, you need to click on it and drag it down to right there and let go. And then we also need to give this a new name. We don't want it to say layer 1. We want to call it yellow balloon. So go ahead where you see the word layer 1, double click it and type yellow balloon. okay, yellow balloon. All right, so we have that where we want it. Now let's go ahead and we're going to focus on the Darth Vader balloon. So go ahead and select that layer. And I also want to zoom in on this image just a little bit. Couple different ways to do that. We're going to use the hotkeys. So with your left hand, I want you to hold the command button. So hold the command button and then press the plus button on your keyboard. So command and the plus button. And let's do that one time. It zooms in. It actually zoomed us into 200%. Kind of a cool feature with zoom is you can actually highlight that number down there and specify whatever you want. So if I want to zoom into 215, I can type 215, hit enter, and it zooms me into 215%. So I have that control there. I can also use the magnifying glass right there, but use the percentage there or command plus to get to this point. Now, as I look at the Darth Vader balloon, you can see a white halo effect around the outside of this. I want to get rid of that, and I'm going to use a method called defringe to do that. All right, so I want you to go up to your menu bar up here. You go to layer on the menu bar, and I want you to go all the way down to the bottom. You see a word called matting. So when you hover over the word matting, you'll see a sub-menu that has the word defringe, and that's what we want. So let's go ahead and click that. And defringe will allow us to take the outside edge and kind of contract it just a little bit. So I'm going to reduce this by 2 pixels. So put the number 2 right there and hit OK. And when I do, you'll see that kind of white halo effect disappear. And that's gone. And that's what we want. So I'm going to hit Command and minus. So Command with my left hand, minus with my right. And I'm going to do it to, well, I'm at 100% right now. Let's go to 150. So highlight this down here, type 150. It takes you to 150. I can kind of see what's going on just a little better, all right? All right, so this yellow balloon right here, I want to make that somewhat transparent. And to do so, I obviously need to select the layer I want to work with. So select the yellow balloon. And I want to make it somewhat see-through, so I'm going to use my opacity setting right there. So where you see opacity, type 85%, 85, and you can now see that the balloon is somewhat see-through, okay? That's what we want. All right, last, I believe this is last step I'm going to show you. Last step I'm going to show you is just how to create a layer group. Because as you go forward with various Photoshop projects, especially if you start taking, if you ever decide to take image editing 2 or the next level of this, I forgot what the name of it is now called, but it's the next level of this. You might have files that have 50, 60 layers over here and it looks really busy. So there's something called layer groups that allow you to stay organized, and we'll be using those quite often throughout the semester. So we're going to go ahead and get a layer group. So this button right up here, top of layer panel, top right, these 3 little lines, click on it. And we're going to go for new group. So click on new group. And we're going to call this text, T-E-X-T, because we're going to put these 2 text layers inside of it. So T-E-X-T, we're going to give it a color. And we'll go red. And hit OK. All right, so now we have a text folder, or group, and we want to move that up to the very, very top of the layer panel. So just go ahead and click on it and drag it to the very top. There is your text folder, and I want you to put both of these layers inside it. You simply click on the layer, drag it, and drop it inside the folder, and it color codes it to match the folder. And we'll do that with the other text layer. So click on it, drag that up, drop it in the folder. You've now got 2 in that folder, and we can collapse it to make it look clean, okay? So that's how you add a layer group. All right, so that looks good. We've reduced the opacity there. We've fixed Darth Vader. Let's go ahead and close the yellow balloon file. So just hit that little X right there. We do not need to save it, so hit Don't Save. All right, and we do want to save this. So we've already called this Up in the Air, and let's just do a Save As so we can specify the correct location. So let's go to File, Save As, and we're going to go to our desktop. All right, let me maximize or spread this out just a little bit so you can see. So I clicked my desktop right there, and we believe, didn't we click create an image editing folder? We did right there, so that's the image editing folder we created a few days ago. So click on that, and this is quarter 3. And this activity is informative, so click informative, double click it, All right, so format is now selected, and the file name is up in the air. File extension is PSD. It stands for Photoshop Document. Always make sure there's only one period in the whole file name, because if you ever try to abbreviate a word in a file name, it's going to mess up the file extension. So only one period, it's always got to be before whatever file extension it is, this case a PSD, and you hit save and hit OK. All right, so this file is now saved in that desktop folder, but we're not done, because in order for you to get credit for your assignments, I need you to take a screenshot and upload that screenshot to the correct link. So I want you to hold 3 keys at the same time, but number 1, let's make sure your zoom factor is high enough where your picture takes up most of the workspace here, okay? Mine's at 150 for this particular file, it works good, and that's what I want. So 3 keys you're gonna hold at the same time. With your left hand, I want you to hold Command and Shift, and with your right hand, I want you to press the number 3. When you do that, it takes a picture of what's on your screen. And at that point, you can minimize this, and why is it staying on there so long? Close that. At that point, you can go search out where the screenshot was placed on your desktop. Okay, it'll place the screenshot on your desktop. It's right there. All right, so I'm going to click on that. I'm going to right-click it and choose Rename. Okay, Rename. I'm going to call this Up in the Air. All right, and this is going to save this as a picture. It's not going to save it as a Photoshop document. I believe the format is a PNG. All right, so change the name to Up in the Air, and it's there. And then I want you to go to Schoology. So go back to your Chrome. We're going to go to this class, or let's go back to this section right there, Image Editing, and go to Week at a Glance. And this activity is from January 25th. Why did I put January 25th through 22nd? That's not right. Let me go ahead and edit that folder. All right, so 25th should be what? 25th, 6 should be 29th, so 25th through 29th. Save changes. Now that's right. I'm going to go click inside that folder, and you'll see there's a file called Up in the Air. And you're going to see something slightly different than me because I can't submit an assignment to that, but if you click on that, go ahead and attach that image to this assignment link, okay? Attach that image to this assignment link. Remember, that image is on your desktop, so when you go to attach the file, go on the left-hand side where it says desktop and search this image and place it in that link and hit submit, and then you're good to go, guys. I believe that's all I wanted to show you here. Let me just double check one thing. That's it. Now, let's say you're doing this assignment and it's past the due date. I got to edit this too. I messed that up, the due date. All right, it's going to be the 29th. So, there. All right, so let's say you did this assignment later than the due date, okay? I'm still going to accept it. There's not going to be a penalty. There's just a different location for you to submit your work. So each week, whatever stuff you want to turn in, you have to turn it in to that week's Week at a Glance folder in either the link for the current assignment, or you can also submit it in a late work folder, okay? So let's say you did this after the due date. Simply go to the late work folder in the current week, and it's just kind of a standard name, late assignment 1. As we go through, I'll have maybe late assignment 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for each week that you can upload your work to. So if you did it after the fact, just hit late assignment 1, go and search that file, upload it, and I'll do the work on my end to make sure you get credit. So hopefully you had fun. Hopefully you learned something. If you have questions, reach out to me, email. We can set up a Zoom call where we can share screens. I can fix your problems, whatever it may be. So hope you had fun. Take care, guys.